Yeah, so Nicki Minaj is being reported right now that Nicki Minaj allegedly is in risk of losing her $20 million home in LA after not paying.
I hate that headline. That headline sounds so stupid. Continue.
I'm going to continue. I'm going to explain though, because Nicki Minaj has responded to this. So Nicki Minaj is allegedly might be losing a $20 million home in LA after not paying a man who alleges that her husband assaulted back in 2019. But Nicki Minaj.
The fall of a queen. Nicki Minaj's $20 million mansion on the chopping block ***. Before we dive into this absolutely insane story that's shaking Hollywood right now, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because Celebrity Program TV brings you the exclusive stories that no one else is talking about. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. This story about Nicki Minaj is going to blow your mind. So here's the deal. Nicki Minaj, one of the biggest names in hip-hop, a woman who's built an empire on her talent, her controversies, and her unapologetic attitude, is now facing something that could shake her entire world. We're talking about her $20 million Los Angeles mansion potentially being ripped right out from under her. And the reason? A massive debt that she and her husband Kenneth Petty have apparently just decided to ignore. Yeah, you heard that right. Ignore. $500,000 that they owe to someone, and they're acting like it doesn't exist. But here's the thing about debt, especially when it comes with a court order attached to it. It doesn't just disappear because you're famous. It doesn't vanish because you're Nicki Minaj. And now, the chickens are coming home to roost in the most spectacular way possible. Let's rewind for a second and talk about this mansion, because we need to understand what's actually at stake here. We're not talking about some modest celebrity home. This is Hidden Hills, California. This is where the elite of the elite live. 11 bedrooms, 16 bathrooms, nearly 12,000 square feet of pure luxury. Nicki bought this property back in December 2022 for $19.5 million. That's the kind of purchase that makes headlines, the kind of move that says you've made it to the absolute top of the game. But now, less than 3 years later, that same mansion is sitting in the crosshairs of a legal nightmare that could end with it being sold off to pay a debt that Nicki apparently doesn't think she needs to pay. The man behind this legal assault is Thomas Weidenmuller, and his story is where things get really dark really fast. Back in March 2019, Weidenmuller was working as a security guard at one of Nicki's shows in Germany. Just a regular guy doing his job, right? But according to him, that night turned into an absolute disaster that would change his life forever. Here's what allegedly went down, and I want you to pay close attention, because this is where the story gets absolutely wild. During the show, a fan broke through the security barrier and made it onto the stage next to Nicki. Now you can imagine that's not good. That's a security nightmare. And according to Weidenmuller, Nicki was furious. She started yelling at a female security guard, and Weidenmuller, trying to do the right thing, stepped in to calm the situation down. Big mistake. Huge mistake. Make sure you're subscribed, because we're about to get into the part of this story that's going to make your jaw drop. And Celebrity Program TV is the only place bringing you these details with the full context you need to understand what's really happening in celebrity culture today. According to Weidenmuller's account, Nicki did not appreciate his intervention. Not one bit. She allegedly told her husband Kenneth Petty about the encounter, and then Weidenmuller was instructed to go to Nicki's dressing room. Think about that for a second. You're a security guard, you're trying to do your job, you're trying to keep everyone safe. And now you're being summoned to the star's dressing room. When he got there, Nicki was waiting with Petty and 2 security guards. The atmosphere must have been intense, threatening even. Weidenmuller says Nicki started yelling at him again, and then, without any warning whatsoever, Kenneth Petty allegedly struck him in the face. Just punched him. Weidenmuller claims he was stunned, disoriented, and in serious pain. He rushed to the hospital, and doctors told him what he probably already feared. His injuries were severe. He needed surgery on his jaw. This wasn't just a little scuffle. This was serious physical harm that required medical intervention. Now, you'd think that a story like this, with allegations this serious, would be something that Nicki Minaj and Kenneth Petty would want to address immediately, right? You'd think they'd want to defend themselves, tell their side of the story, present evidence, do something. But here's where it gets even more bizarre. They didn't respond. They just didn't respond to the lawsuit. Oh. When someone sues you for $500,000 claiming assault and battery, and you just ignore it, the court doesn't sit around waiting forever. In March 2024, the court entered default judgments against both Nicki and Petty. That means they lost automatically because they didn't even bother to show up and fight. $503,000 awarded to Weidenmuller, and apparently, Nicki and Petty have decided that they're just not going to pay it. And this is where we get to the absolute heart of this story, the part that's happening right now. On October 6, Weidenmuller went back to court with a new request, and this one is nuclear. He's asking the court to order the sale of Nicki's Hidden Hills mansion to collect the money she owes him. And here's the kicker. He's got the numbers to back it up. The property is currently valued at around $20 million. Nicki has a mortgage lien on it for just over $13 million, and there's a homestead exemption of about $722,000. Add those together, and you're looking at just under $14 million in existing claims. But $20 million minus $14 million leaves about $6 million in equity. That's more than enough to pay off the $503,000 judgment, plus interest, plus all the legal costs that have piled up because Nicki and Petty have refused to handle this situation like adults. If you're loving this deep dive into what's really happening behind the celebrity headlines, hit that subscribe button right now because Celebrity Program TV doesn't just report the news, we break down what it actually means and why you should care. Weidenmuller's lawyer made a statement that really cuts to the core of what makes this story so frustrating and frankly so fascinating. They said, and I'm going to quote this because it's important, although it is regrettable that the extraordinary measure of forcing the sale of Minaj's dwelling is required, that result is entirely the product of her intransigence in not making payment. Intransigence. That's a fancy word for stubborn refusal. They continued. Minaj is a global music superstar, estimated to have a net worth of anywhere between $150 to $190 million, and is reportedly the highest-paid female rap star in the world. There is little doubt that she is highly capable of paying the judgment in full, and yet, she has refused to do so despite multiple written requests for payment and levies served upon several of her suspected creditors. Let that sink in for a moment. We're talking about someone worth up to $190 million refusing to pay $500,000. That's not even 0.5% of her net worth. It's pocket change in the world of mega-celebrity wealth. But instead of just writing the check, instead of settling this quietly and making it go away, Nicki and Petty have let it escalate to the point where someone is literally trying to take their house. Why? What's the strategy here? Is it pride? Is it principle? Is it just plain stubbornness? Or is there something else going on that we don't know about? The legal argument that Weidenmuller is making is pretty straightforward. He's saying that he shouldn't have to exhaust every other possible collection method before asking for the house to be sold. The law doesn't require that when the property in question is clearly worth enough to satisfy the entire debt. And in this case, there's no question about it. $6 million in equity versus $500,000 in debt. The math is simple. The property could be sold, all the liens paid off, Weidenmuller gets his money, and Nicki would still walk away with millions. But she'd lose the house. She'd lose that symbol of success, that Hidden Hills address, that sanctuary that celebrities pay top dollar for because it offers privacy and prestige. And let's talk about Kenneth Petty for a second because his role in all of this cannot be ignored. This isn't Petty's first brush with serious legal trouble. He's a registered sex offender with a criminal history that includes convictions that have raised eyebrows throughout Nicki's fanbase and the public at large. Their relationship has been controversial from the start, and now we're looking at a situation where his alleged actions in Germany 5 years ago are threatening to cost them one of their most valuable assets. The pattern here is troubling. The refusal to engage with the legal system is troubling. The apparent belief that the rules somehow don't apply to them is troubling. Celebrity Program TV is your source for the stories that matter in celebrity culture. So make sure you're subscribed and you've got that notification bell on because we're tracking this story as it develops and you're going to want to know what happens next. What makes this entire situation even more mind-boggling is the context of Nicki's career and public persona. This is a woman who has built her brand on being untouchable, on being the queen, on being someone who doesn't back down from anyone or anything. She's been in feuds with other rappers, with ex-boyfriends, with critics, with anyone who dares to come at her. She's known for her fierce loyalty to her fans, the Barbs, and for her equally fierce responses to anyone she perceives as a threat or an enemy. But this situation with Weidenmuller isn't a Twitter beef. This isn't a diss track. This is a legal judgment from a court of law, and ignoring it doesn't make you look strong or defiant. It makes you look like you think you're above the law. The really tragic part of this story is what happened to Weidenmuller himself. Forget the money for a second. This was a man who was just trying to do his job. He was hired to provide security at a concert. When things went wrong, he tried to help. And for his efforts, he allegedly got punched in the face so hard that he needed jaw surgery. Think about the physical pain, the recovery time, the medical bills, the trauma of being assaulted at your workplace. And then, after going through all of that, having to fight for years just to get the people responsible to acknowledge what happened and pay what they owe. It's exhausting just thinking about it. We're now in November 2025, and this judgment was entered back in March 2024. That's more than a year and a half of Weidenmuller trying to collect this money. A year and a half of lawyers and court filings and frustration. And apparently, multiple written requests for payment that have been completely ignored. At what point does someone with Nicki's resources and intelligence just say, you know what, let's make this go away? Write the check, move on with life, focus on the music, focus on the empire, don't let this become the story. But that's not what happened. Instead, we're here, talking about a mansion potentially being seized and sold. The court system moves slowly, but it does move. And when you ignore it, when you treat it like it's beneath you, eventually it catches up. Default judgments are serious. They mean you lost without even trying to win. And now the consequences of that decision are manifesting in real, tangible ways. Weidenmuller has every right to pursue every legal avenue available to collect what he's owed, and forcing the sale of the mansion is absolutely within those rights according to his legal team. Before we wrap this up, make sure you hit that subscribe button one more time because Celebrity Program TV is bringing you these stories every single day, and you need to be here for all of it. Here's what we're watching for next. Will the court actually order the sale of the mansion? Will Nicki and Petty finally respond and try to fight this? Or will they cut a check at the last possible moment to avoid the humiliation of having their home sold at auction? Will there be a settlement? Will Nicki address this publicly? Or will she continue to stay silent and let the legal process play out? These are the questions that are going to define the next chapter of this story, and we're going to be here covering every development. This story is a reminder that celebrity status doesn't put you above the law. Money doesn't make legal judgments disappear. And ignoring problems doesn't make them go away. It makes them worse. Nicki Minaj built an incredible career, but right now, she's facing a crisis that threatens not just her finances but her reputation. How she handles this will tell us a lot about who she really is when the cameras aren't rolling and the spotlight isn't shining. Stay tuned to Celebrity Program TV for all the latest updates on this developing story. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next video where we're breaking down even more shocking celebrity news that you won't believe.